And we are live now.
Hi, good evening, friends, and welcome to the second episode of Dynamic CIO's Women in Tech LinkedIn Live series. My name is Shipra Malhotra, and I am the executive editor of Dynamic CIO and your host for this session. I'm joined by my colleague and co-host Bablu Kumar, and we have with us two highly accomplished leaders who have shattered the glass ceiling to reach where they are today. And I will introduce them both in just a minute. And before that, let me tell you the idea behind this series. Through sharing the journeys of leading women achievers in the tech industry, their struggles as well as successes, we hope to inspire and mentor the next generation of women leaders on some very crucial aspects. Now, during these sessions, we will be highlighting some of the most pertinent questions or issues on top of mind for the women in the tech industry, aspiring to move up the ladder into leadership roles. The ultimate aim for us is to see more gender parity at the top management and leadership positions. So having said that, let me not take too much of your time and quickly introduce our guest speakers. Please welcome Kamalika Paris and Preeti Kamar. A little bit more about our two guests. Kamalika is Director Google Cloud India. She is a seasoned business leader and technologist and comes with over 20 years of experience in consulting, business and technology transformation, and enterprise sales. Kamalika has been a passionate advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion during her career, sponsoring the efforts on behalf of SAP India during her tenure there as VP, as well as participating in numerous other forums and interest groups on women in technology. In fact, Kamalika also runs the Women at Google Forum. So welcome, Kamalika. And
Thank you, Shipra.
great to have you. And our second guest speaker for today is Preeti Kamar. Preeti is Head IT and Chief Information Security Officer, NEC Corporation, India. Preeti has over 27 years of experience and is responsible for handling the global IT operations, security, and digitalization. She spearheads the security and operational strategy formulation and implementation for worldwide branches. She also oversees the SAP implementation for NEC in India, along with handling the IT governance and information security aspects of the organization. With her expertise in data protection and business process automation, Preeti plays a key role in ensuring operational efficiency and security management, including cybersecurity at NEC Corporation India. So both Preeti and Kamalika have made a mark as thought leaders in their own respective and unique ways. Thank you so much, Kamalika and Preeti, for joining us today for this session under Women in Tech LinkedIn Live session. And today we are actually going to beyond your bio that I have read out. The bio that I read out is just one part of who you are. What we actually want to do today is go beyond that and know the personas behind these bios that I spoke about. So let me start on a very, very casual and fun note. If someone were to ask a Bollywood actor or a cricketer that did you want to be a cricketer or an actor, right? From your childhood. So I want to ask, as a child, what did you want to be? I don't know if you'll say that, okay, I wanted to be at Google in one day, or Preeti, you must have thought I want to be a CISO or an IT head one day. So what were your aspirations as a child, and do you think you have reached those aspirations? Any one of you can start first.
So that's a great question, Shipra, and thank you for putting us in the spot right from the outset. But I think it's a great question, and I think looking back, my biggest aspiration when I was a kid was to actually be an astronaut, and land on some uninhabited planet. As you can imagine from watching a lot of the space shows which used to come on TV at that point of time. And maybe it was a foreshadow of things that I landed up in the technology field. But yeah, that was actually where what I thought was like the most fascinating sort of job or career or adventure that one could have.
But you're closer to that, in at least you're in the technology domain.
Yes, one could say that. One could say that, yes.
Great. What about you, Preeti?
Very interesting question, Shipra. So as you said, Kamalika, that you wanted to be the astronaut. You remember when we used to be in school, there used to be one series, Star Trek. I was a great fan of Star Trek, but I had never wanted to be astronaut. I always wanted to be a doctor. And IT, during my school life, I used to hate IT. My parents told me that go and take IT because at that time in 11th, 12th, it was the first year where computers got introduced in our school, and there used to be AC labs and you had to take out the shoes outside. So we used to get very fascinated. But still, I never wanted to take IT. My dad was a doctor, and in fact, after 10th class, I started treating patients with him. I started giving him assistance. He used to have clinic at his home. I have some bandages and all those things. I used to help him out. And when I did not get through in medical, maybe I was relaxed. I thought that dad will give the money. What a big deal. He has a lot of money. And when I did not get through, I told dad that others, my other friends, their parents, they are giving me money. What is the problem with you? So he said that if you have not got through, it means you don't deserve it. I don't want you to play with humans' life. I will not give even a single penny. And for 1 week, I did not come out of my room, and I decided that I'm going to commit suicide. And during that week, I planned a lot that how am I going to commit suicide? Because I could never think of anything else in my life. And I was so disturbed that my dad, he always wanted to be doctor. I always wanted to be a doctor. And now he's not giving the money. What a big deal. So that was the first biggest shock in my life, which my father taught me. And now I really respect his way of thinking and others. If I compare my father with others' parents, I really respect him a lot. But I always wanted to be a doctor. And then after that, I said, okay, jahan admission karwana hai, whatever you want to do with me, do it.
But do either of you regret that your life didn't take the path that you had originally dreamt of?
It's like this, that it's not always like this, that your dreams come true. This is the biggest learning what I have. As a childhood, we dream something, we think something, we have certain fantasies, but in reality, that doesn't come true. So this is the biggest learning, that even if your dreams are not coming true, still you have to keep finding some way or the other. Still you have to keep yourself happy. Still you have to keep yourself motivated. Don't get disheartened. This is my biggest message to the era, to the others. Please don't get disheartened. If people like us can survive, I think everyone can survive. I didn't commit suicide. I'm still here.
What about you, Kamalika? Do you regret not having become an
No,
astronaut?
I think, I think it's NASA's loss that, I didn't actually decide to pursue the career. But interestingly, now that I think about it, and it's a very interesting train of thought that you started, Chipra, because I think, girls, I think are naturally sort of, interested in technological fields, but very often the education that we go through, and then, when I had to think about, okay, I have to study engineering or whatever it is, and there is this field that, is more science and math and engineering heavy, and then maybe a field in technology is not for me, right? Maybe that in a sense, the kind of, the social structures that we have, the educational structures that we have, don't really encourage, this kind of inquiry into matters which are scientific and technological, right? And I think a lot of the programs that have now started that actually talk about, women in STEM, girls in STEM, outreaches in school, I think those are extremely valuable, and they're actually starting a conversation that can really, really get a lot more girls, into the field of technology than we've had before. So I think that's important.
I really like your spirit. You said in NASA's loss. Absolutely. I think
So it was nice to know about both of you, what you wanted to become. So my first question is to Kamalika. So you had a non-technical background. So it will be interesting to know how did you get into the tech industry, and being from a non-technical background, what kind of challenges did you face?
Yeah, so I think that's a very interesting question. I think it relates to a little bit to what Preeti said, that sometimes life takes you down unexpected paths, and you think especially when you're a student, you may not really know, but you think you know the direction that you want your life to take. But the universe may have different plans, and very often opportunities come your way, or different windows open up that actually lead you into a very different path, right? So I was actually an economics graduate, and actually probably going into a career in technology at that point of time was not something that was in my consideration set at all, right? I thought the economics field is where I would like to carry on studying, and that's really what I saw as a path for myself, right? But paths change, like we said, and options change, and new opportunities present themselves. And post my economics, I went into business school, and from there into a career in general management and consulting. And then through a career, I actually kept on shifting more and more into technologically related areas. So when I was in consulting, for example, we would do projects on large scale technology transformations, right? And it was very interesting to see the kind of impact. These days we call it digital transformation. Those days it was something else, but essentially the same thing, right? Large scale technology transformations in organizations that fundamentally changed how organizations would work, right? And very interesting to see that, and sort of unknown to myself, I kept on going a little more deeper and deeper into the technology side of things, right? And probably the childhood passion that I had to be an astronaut was sort of rechanneled into an interest into technology, cutting edge innovation, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, you could say it was an early path that kind of re-emerged later on in life. Yeah.
So, what challenges did you face being a from a non-technical background?
Actually, nothing. I mean, and I think that, we tend to think ourselves, and we tend to box ourselves and people into, okay, so and so is an engineer, so and so is a liberal arts graduate. And I think that's really, something that at least I have never found, that it presented a constraint in any way, right? In fact, a background in economics, at least for me, gave me different tools to think, right? To think differently, to frame problems differently. And I think each stage of your life actually gives you that kind of a lesson, right? So, technology, as I said, it's an ever evolving field, right? So even the people who have the knowledge as of today, tomorrow it's a new set of knowledges, and new set of knowledge and new set of tools that come up, right? So in any field, that's true. Knowledge is forever evolving. So if you're a lifelong learner, I don't think that creates any problems at all.
Wow, amazing. So, my next question is to Preeti. So, when you started off your career, you spent your first decade with a number of organizations. Was there a feeling of unsettling in the initial part of your career before you finally found that your true calling in the industry?
Yeah, so this is something fishy. You know something about my career. In the initial stages, it was very, very restless. And after a very long period, I was able to settle down. So I would say that my mom is a teacher, and since beginning, she has influenced me to be a teacher because it's good life. See, I can manage my kids, I can manage house, I can do everything. So you can also do it. So I started my career as a teacher. Although along with teaching, I was doing some software development and all those things as well. But when I started going around with my current husband, he told me that no, you don't have to be a teacher. Don't restrict yourself. Throw yourself in the market, right? Go into the IT field. You are into IT field. So initially, I didn't used to like this, but yes, then I started going out, and during few years, I had to face a lot of challenges. I'm not sure whether that is only with me and with others as well. There were lot of challenges. You talk about a thing, and I would say that yes, I have the experience for that. You talk about sexual harassment, I have the experience for that. You talk about gender bias, yes, I will say I've faced that. You talk about financial problems, financial biasing, yes, I will say that I've faced that. But whatever it is, whatever I am today, I'm a very tough person today. And whatever I am, that is because of those experiences. When I used to experience those kind of things, I used to feel very bad that why I'm experiencing all these things. My friends, they are having a very settled career. They don't face these kind of issues. Why am I? But now I realize that I'm really thankful to all those people who have given me tough time, and to all those incidents, and because of them the learning is so immense. Whatever I am today, I am because of those incidents. And a very important thing what I have learned because of what all I've gone through, there are all kind of people on this earth. If you start comparing one individual with another, that's not the right thing to do. So at times, few people, what happens that when you face certain challenges, you have the same perception about those people. For example, if you are facing sexual harassment challenges, you get biased towards males, that, oh, male is not a good community, they are not like good. No, it's not like this. Every individual is different. So you have to treat every individual as a different individual, and whatever bad is going on, it's okay. Learn and go on, right? I what I wanted, I don't know why, I don't have this reason, but I always wanted to handle my challenges on my own. I've never gone with my challenges to someone else. So whenever I face sexual harassment or financial issues or other kind of bias, so I have tried to come through all the challenges on my own. So that learning is a very big learning, and I think I've learned a lot because of that. So during initial years, it was very, very unsettling. And then when I came to I think in Terra Information Technologies, it was my first organization where I spent 11 years. Otherwise, the moment I used to finish my 1 year, I used to leave the job, or I used to abscond. I was working with one medical transcription company. There I was facing certain challenges with my male boss. For a while, I kept on handling him. One day I decided that, okay, I will abscond. So I absconded. So that's how the life has been, and that's how the learning has been. So yeah, it has been very unsettling, but I have learned a lot because of those unsettling years.
Thank you so much, actually, Preeti, for sharing that. I think that will be quite a comfort factor for a lot of women who will be hearing this, that this is something that they need to fight. So, Kamali, I want to ask you, so your issues may be same or different. For each,
Sure.
there might be different issues. So, what were your challenges and hurdles that you faced in your career? And were these challenges specifically because of being a woman, or this could have you could have faced those challenges being a man as well? Were there these specific stereotypes that you faced?
Yeah. No, and I think it's a great question, Shipra. So I think, the thing about women, and I think that we all do it to ourselves, is that our self-doubt is always very high, right? So whenever a challenge presents itself, or whenever a situation presents itself, we are always more liable to believe that, we've done something wrong, or we are not up to the job, or this is something that, is going to overwhelm me, right? Or maybe I don't have the right skills to handle this, right? And I think, as women, we actually do a disservice to ourselves in that kind of a state of mind, right? Because challenges obviously present themselves to everyone, but somewhere having that confidence to say that, I've got this and I know that I can handle this, right? I think it's very, very important, right? I mean, take this whole situation of imposter syndrome, right? People talk about it, right? And I can tell you it's very, very real, right? And it doesn't go away throughout your life. It sort of attacks you at different stages, and over a period of time, you actually learn how to deal with it and how to manage it, right? So I remember, very.
Have you faced it yourself?
Oh, yes. So I was, sort of earlier on in my career, so I was put in charge of this very large team, which was a very, very sort of largely a male team, right? So with a lot of, people who were reporting to me who were all older than me, right? So I was here in this kind of a situation with a team of people who, and again, knew a lot more technology than I did, right? To the question that Bablu asked me earlier. And I was supposed to drive them together, and it was a very team of 300 people who were reporting to them. So it was a pyramid organization, and it was very, very complex, right? And in those situations, it is of course but natural to feel some self-doubt. And as women, I think as a woman, I felt a lot more self-doubt than probably a man would in my position, right? And I think 2 or 3 strategies that I used to deal with that situation. Number one was to tell myself that, look, somebody thought you were good enough to be here, right? So have faith in that. That person made a decision about you, and that person saw something in you that made him him or her believes that you are right for the job, right? So have faith in that decision. And the next one, the next important lesson I learned is that, it's okay to say that in a new situation, I'm a learner, and I want to listen, right? We are so used to thinking of leaders who come in saying, hey, I have all the answers, this is the way we're going to do it, and this is the way we're going to do it. And women, I've always seen, are different. They come into a new situation saying that I want to hear, I want to listen, I want to understand, and I want to learn, right? And that approach actually worked for me, because for quite some time in that role, I actually took time to learn what it was to be in that job. What did it really mean, right? And the last one really is, again, to be a fast learner, to bring yourself up to speed, and to really say, okay, this is how the job needs to be done, right? Because I think that is also important. You have to also respect the responsibility that somebody has given you. But imposter syndrome still comes, right? I mean, this was my first, probably my most memorable experience with it, but it still comes, right? But it's important to keep on reminding yourself that you're here because you do deserve that position and that responsibility.
Right. So, Preeti, did you also face that kind of imposter syndrome? In fact, in our last session, also, Amrita and Shivangi spoke about it. So, do you think that you have also been through that?
I agree that everyone, I would say that not only female, even males, they get through this in their initial stages, because where self-doubt comes in. Uh, I was also not a very confident person, and because of these incidents, what has happened, that made me self-doubt a bit, that whether I'm equipped to do what I am thinking to do. My dreams are big, my ambitions are big, my asks are big. So do you think I will be able to do it? Am I the right person? But I think over a period of time, in a very short span of time, I became a very, very self-obsessed and a very self-confident person. I feel that for a woman to be successful, not only women, for everyone to be successful, you have to start loving yourself. You have to start respecting yourself. That is very important. At times we feel guilt if we try to make ourselves happy. We always keep thinking, oh, we have to keep someone else happy. I want to be the best wife on this earth. I want to be the best daughter-in-law. I want to be the best daughter. I want to be the best mother. But it cannot happen. So you have to give time to yourself. You have to tell yourself you have the right to be happy. If you want to go for a massage and then kids are at home, it's okay. So that's how I overcome this feeling of this thing, that self-doubt. Then I became a very, very confident person. And I'm sorry to say, if anyone challenges me, I'm very open in challenging back. That there is nothing on this earth that I can't do. The role I'm currently playing, there are 95% of male in the industry. At times when I go to CIO conferences, at times I'm the only female. So in one or two conferences, I felt a bit awkward. And I thought that, oh, should I come to these conferences? Because it's full of male members. Only one or two speaker female were there, no female CIO. But I said, no, Preeti, it's okay. I will be here. This is my right to be here. If they have the right to be here, even I have the right to be here. If someone wants to talk to you, it's okay. If someone doesn't want to talk to you, that's fine. You have a drink, eat, dance, whatever you want to do, and then carry on. You also have to learn. So that's how, you have to keep telling yourself, you have to keep on building up that confidence within you. Even if someone external is not there to build up your confidence, I think you have to build up your confidence on your own.
I actually kind of, resonate with what you said, Preeti, because a lot of times during these conferences, I have seen myself being the only or one of the two or three women in the whole conference. So, in fact, Kamalika, what about, in the board meetings, have you been in, being, again, a largely male-dominated industry? I mean,
oh, yes.
Have you found yourself to be like one of the only women or one of the few women in the rooms?
All the time, Shipra. And I think that's more common. I mean, I'm grateful that it's getting a little less now. So at least you do find a few more women around the room. But I think in the earlier days of my career, it was pretty standard to find yourself as as the only woman in the room, right? It was very common, right? And I think a few things that I learned, like one is that of course when you're there and you're kind of a rookie, right? You're still not obviously a very senior leader at that point of time, and you're sitting there. It's very easy to get intimidated, right? But one thing that I decided very early on was that I was going to go to these meetings and I was going to make my contribution, right? Whatever it was, whatever I thought was something that I could say, I would put up my hand and I would say it, right? The second thing I discovered is that very often you get interrupted, right? I don't think if you've noticed this, but there is a greater tendency to interrupt a woman as she is talking, right? And for someone to say something, while she is talking or while she's expressing a point of view. And I also learned to therefore ask for my time to speak and say, hey, I'm speaking, and you can of course have your say after I've said this point, right? And this all comes through experience, because you've gone through so many such situations that you kind of get a little more seasoned. You understand that this is going to be let's say a difficult discussion, or sometimes it's a more supportive discussion, or sometimes it's a little more candid like we're having here. But it's so important, I feel, for women in general, to have their say, to put up their hand and say, hey, this is what I think, and this is what I think should be done. And Mr. So-and-so, can you please wait till I've expressed my idea, and then I'll be happy to hear yours, right? I think those are absolutely, must-have tools in every woman's arsenal.
Very good point, Kamalika. I think that no one can take advantage of you if you don't let them take. So at times it's like this, that we let others take advantage of us, and that is the reason people take advantage of females.
So
Sorry,
on a
I.
lighter note, I think here in this forum we are 3 women and one.
Maybe we should make sure that Bablu talks a little more.
Sorry, Bablu. So we have outnumbered you, but yeah, sorry. So, Bablu, I'm back to you now.
Okay, so you both have leadership positions now in your respective companies, organizations. So what have been the biggest highlights of your journey so far? I mean, one by one, Kamalika and then Preeti.
Wow, highlights of my journey. One doesn't really think about highlights in that sense, because you always think that, at least I always do, that there's something more exciting that's always to come, right? There's something more interesting over the horizon, or over the next hill, right? So I think to me, I think the greatest satisfaction that I get, and this is a personal viewpoint, right, is actually when I look at my children, right? Because having done both, being a mother and having a successful career, right, is gives me a great deal of satisfaction in the manner in which let's say both those themes have gone throughout my life, right? Very difficult to manage, especially in the early days when the children are small. And I remember this particular incidents, and I'm sure lots of moms have the same, when the children are, let's say, ill, or they're asking for something, or they're crying for something, but then you have a presentation in the office, it's a very important meeting, and your boss is calling you and you have to be there. Like every mother goes through those kind of days where it's difficult to make that choice, right? But actually having done that successfully, and to be able to have been there, for my kids, as well as at least hold down a job successfully, right? To me, I think that gives me the greatest deal of satisfaction.
Well, Kamalika, I'm so surprised to see that our thoughts are so similar. This is what I was about to say, that this is the biggest highlight, that I will not say position or anything. I will say that I'm still working, and along with my kids, I'm not divorced yet. In fact, reason that at times they blame me, but still they have not left me. It's a still intact family. And I think for working women, that is the biggest highlight, because in order to take up the leadership role, the journey is very difficult. It's not an easy journey. And you have to travel a lot. You have to spend a lot of time. Now we can say that we have a lot of say in our organization, what time we'll spend, what time we will travel, with whom we'll meet, with whom we'll not meet. Now we are in that position. But before this, we were not in that position. We have
Yeah.
slumped a lot. Yeah, I remember that when I joined Intera IT, I went the third, fourth day, I had to go to US for 1 month. And do you know, first time when I came back after 6 months. And my daughter was 4 years old. My husband was not at all equipped to manage my daughter. Then he used to tell me, I on video or on phone, I used to tell him how to comb her hair, how to take care of her. So I think at that time we did not have this leverage what we have. So it's a biggest achievement that we are able to manage our families. Kids are happy. We are able to give time to kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, husband is also satisfied, and by this time we are able to gain that thing, and we are able to tell everything what we want in our life. That is the biggest achievement, that we are able to understand that our satisfaction and happiness also matters. We are also human being, we are not robots.
Right.
But to reach this position, Preeti and Kamalika, that you spoke about, where you have been able to achieve that kind of work-life balance, but reaching this position would have taken time. It would have been tough. So, what were the early struggles you had with balancing work and life? And I mean, were there situations where you had to make a tough choice of prioritizing your children over work, or your work over children? Like Preeti did mention, give an example where she had to go to the US and leave her small daughter behind. So Kamalika, were there any those kind of incidents, and how did you
Yeah.
really balance?
Very, very similar incidents, when I had to, let's say, travel and be away from home, right? And I remember my daughter telling me one day that, Mama, Papa can't really tie my hair the way that, and it reminded me when Preeti was talking about that example. She was complaining about how, she was so worried because she had to go to a birthday party, and, Papa just could not tie her hair in the way that Mama could. And those are the moments that really make you question, what am I doing, right? And you totally understand the viewpoints of women who say, never mind, I'm going to take a career break and I'm going to come back after some time, right? So I really admire women who have actually faced that on a day-to-day basis and gone through that, because I think that's a really, really special quality of resilience. And it's not just about having children, right? You can have a family to take care of, you can have elderly parents at home, but at the end of the day, keeping that together, right, I think it does take a special superpower, so that's what I call the the women's superpower, right? So yes, those challenges have absolutely been there, and I think how does one deal with it? To me, it's a day-to-day prioritization. So for example, I always told myself that with my kids, I won't ever miss any significant day in their life, like a school function or a performance that they were doing or something like that, because for me that would always take priority, right? But at the same time, at work, there were obviously these important meetings and events that I had to be present for, that I had to be responsible for, right? And those would take priority on the days when they were important, right? So I think it's a constant prioritization that you do, right? And you have to draft your allies into it as well. Like your spouse is your ally. If you have in-laws or your parents staying with you, they are your allies. Get all the help that you can, right? It can be from caregivers at home who are also like family or who have been there with you for a long time. So get all the help that you can, because you deserve that help, because the journey you're on is not an easy one, right? So don't try to do everything yourself. Don't try to be the superwoman, right? But just take each day as it comes.
Every day is a struggle day. So you asked that what were these struggles? I would say that every day was a struggle day. The way Kamalika mentioned that attending events, I also promised my kids that whatever it is, I will attend your all the events. And then when the event used to come, at times it has happened that I had to be at my office, and I told my husband, please don't tell Jivantika or Jivitesh that I was not present there. So he said, you want me to lie? I said, no, it's not lie. I'm just telling you to be with me. You can imagine I'm there with you. So we have even done like this so that they don't feel hurt. But over a period of time, I think that they have understood. Now they also say that, Mama, we know you're not going to be there. That's fine. We are okay with this.
So,
Till the point of time you come back, it's okay.
so how do you ensure time for yourself and your hobbies and interests? I
So
mean,
I think that's a very interesting question. And my interest is I love dancing. I was a classical dancer. And
wonderful.
during my school life, I used to travel a lot representing Delhi to Chennai, Mumbai, and these places. And over a period of time, because of studies, because of the priorities, I was not able to continue. But still, while working, if you have certain things at your office, you keep participating in them. You have family functions, you keep participating in there. And that's how you take out the time. And now I'm a big fan of Netflix. It's Netflix and this watching series and lot of Prime and all those things is my stress buster. You just close the room and for a while you don't sleep too much. So that's how you have to find out time. It's not an easy question, and there is no scientific thing that where we can say the time management. It totally depends upon you. If you really want to do it, do it. Find out the time for yourself. Otherwise, you cannot satisfy others. You cannot perform at job, because frustration and pressure is something which has to be released. And at position like us, if we have a certain kind of pressure, we don't have many friends. We are very alone. We cannot talk to many people. At office, we cannot talk to many people. With our spouses, we cannot discuss a lot of things. Kids, definitely you cannot discuss. Parents are of a different league. So you don't have anyone where you can discuss your pressure. So it's very important to handle yourself and see that you also have to carry on and must go on.
Right, right. So, Kamalika, how do you ensure time? I mean, I know it's very difficult, but how do you, there must be some hobbies, interests that you may have. So, how do you ensure that?
Yeah, so I
You,
think it's very, very important to have those dimensions to your life, which are different from, your role as a mother and your role, in the workplace. And, I didn't used to think about like this, when I was younger, but as I grew, I realized that if I don't do that, then I'm not, investing in myself, right? So a few things that I thought was very important. Number one is to have a gang of girlfriends. That's the way that I put it. I think Preeti alluded to it. I think I'm very thankful. I have a very strong group of friends who I can go to whenever I have a problem. We can talk things through. No holds barred. And they give me strength, right? So I think that's very important for me. Second thing is to have a hobby. I used to be a singer when I was younger, but unfortunately, I haven't really kept that up. But I have come into contact with so many women who are doing extraordinary stuff, of late, right? Whether it's painting, whether it's the performing arts, whether it's, and I think, these days with YouTube and Instagram, one really does have the tools at your disposal to actually explore those hobbies, right? I see a lot more women doing it today, than even I saw a few years back. And that makes me feel wonderful, because I think, that sort of rounds out your personality, right? When you invest time into a hobby, it's a great de-stressor, but it makes you feel more wholesome, like a person, right? So I think that's very, very important. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to follow that prescription myself, but I think it's tremendously important.
That kind of
so,
reminds me of this phrase that you can't pour from an empty cup, and I think one of the biggest issues or problems with women is that like earlier both of you pointed that we want to be perfect at everything, being a perfect mom, a perfect wife, at being perfect at work, that somehow we feel guilty about taking care of ourselves, taking time for ourselves. And I think that is something that is very important for all women, that you need to have this, to be successful leaders as well. I mean, you need to have other dimensions of your life, especially
Yeah.
very importantly. Yeah. So I want to come back to from that to one more thing. Kamalika, now what we have seen, we touched that upon briefly, that when you have children, how balancing work life is so difficult. And in your case, in one of your previous jobs, you moved countries. You I think worked in Thailand and Turkey.
That's right.
How difficult was it to adjust to that, to a new culture? And secondly, what we have seen is that women find they often crib that I could not take up this new opportunity or new role because I didn't have the flexibility to move. And a lot of cases, it's usually what you see is the husband is moving jobs, so the woman has to quit and move jobs. So in your case, how easy or difficult was it to move continents and with your family?
No, that's a great question. So, when I first moved to Thailand, right? I had just become a mom, so I had just had my son, so he was probably, I think, 3 months old, right? And I was just, about to sort of, move to this new place. And as you rightly said, it was my husband's job that had shifted, and we were all, sort of going along with him, right? And it was very tempting at that juncture for me to say, hey, I'm going to take a break, I'm going to just spend, a year or so at home, and then see what I can find, right? And more than anyone, it was my husband who was very insistent that no, you're going to go there, but we're going to make sure that none of us have to compromise each other's career, because of this move, and we'll do whatever it takes, right? We'll make, and obviously, I'll do my maternity leave and all that, but you must get back to work, right? And you must have those conversations even before we leave India, right? And the company that I was working with at that point of time actually was very, very accommodative of the changes, right? And that's when you realize that very often you don't have these conversations because you think that it's not going to work out, it's a different country, it's a different environment, and people may not listen to me. But and to the point made earlier that you do find your allies and your mentors and your supporters in every situation, right? And in my case, I was really lucky because that worked out for me both times. In fact, when I had gone to Thailand, and even later when I went to Istanbul, right? And just by virtue of the fact that you do bring some credentials, you bring some experience, you bring some knowledge of how that organization works, you can get a position there, right? Fitting into a new country is again challenging because you're going there, you've got a new baby, right? So there's obviously a question of the support system that you had in India you won't have there, so you need to set that up and make sure that your children are well looked after. And then there's of course the whole thing of the cultural dynamic at work, and then how do you fit in there, and how do you actually sort of make a mark for yourself there. And I was a consultant at that point of time, and one of the things I discovered was that when you're in a country where the first language is not English, right? And your customers obviously are going to converse in their local language. It really interferes so much with your understanding of the business situation or the problem or the project that you're trying to manage, right? So in both those moves, actually, I took a lot of time in the beginning to actually attend classes and learn the local language, right? And it's not that I became very fluent or anything, but I had enough of an understanding to be able to understand, what my clients were talking about, what was the problem we were trying to address, and how would we actually, address a certain, run a certain project or something like that. So that really helped me because I think I understood the culture. I made some wonderful friends who I'm still in touch with, right? And I was able to immerse myself in the cultures of those countries in a way that I probably wouldn't have done, if I hadn't learned the language. So at the end of the day, it was again, you get a deep sense of satisfaction when you're able to manage all of that. You manage your home, you manage your little babies, you manage your job in a different country, where you were thrown off the deep end, right? But you managed to find your feet, right? So I think both those experiences, along, with my husband's, sort of, like I said, determination that we will not, compromise anybody's career when we move, those worked in our favor.
So Preeti, in your case also, you took a big chance when I think in between you did try entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
In between. So how were you able to manage that change? Because I think a lot of time we find that women are very, they don't want to take the risks, they don't want to take those risks of leaving the job and trying something new, how did you do that?
Yeah, so I belong from a business class family, and since beginning I wanted to be in business. And thankfully, when I discussed this with my husband, and he encouraged me the way Kamalika is saying. So first of all, I really want to say thanks to my family, husband, and everyone, because I think without their support, we cannot do anything. So if with their extreme support, we can do all these things. So he encouraged me that, okay, well, you want to leave the job, and then do your own business. At that time, my daughter was very, very young. So at times I used to drop her at my in-laws' place, or at times I used to drop her at my parents' place. But luckily in India, as Kamalika said, that you have the support system. My in-laws are extremely supportive. My parents are extremely supportive. So my daughter used to shuffle between these two houses, and that was a real struggling time. But somehow, yes, that managed. And not only from struggling time, not only from child management, home management point of view, I faced a lot of financial crisis as well, right? Because when a female doing the business, handling the business alone, that is a very tough thing. So I would say that managing job for a female is much more easier as compared to managing the complete empire, where when you go to the market, you meet a lot of male members and you are the only one who is managing your company. At times people underestimate. So you have to do your best and you have to put in a lot of efforts to prove yourself that no, I can do it. And when you have to pick up the orders from the market, and when they say, oh, you are the only one who are handling, those who know your credentials, it is easy to work with them, but to pick up new clients, it's very difficult. You have to prove yourself. And at times, I used to feel very frustrated. Why I have to prove myself? I know I'm good. I'm telling you, I'll be able to handle your business. Why I have to prove myself? So these are the kind of challenges. But then over a period of time, I had certain financial troubles. So then I decided that maybe I'm not able to manage this thing and let me go back to job. I had certain debts as well. I took a lot of wrong decisions because I never used to listen to anyone's advice. So, that I've learned over a period of time. At times, it's listen to some advices as well. So, I think every female has to make a balance of it. Either we start doubting ourselves a lot, or we become overconfident that I know everything. So I saw a very big shift in me from a non-confident person to a very overconfident person. And this is the biggest learning for me. When I became overconfident, then also I lost everything. There was a lot of financial wrong decisions what I took. Because of that, I had to suffer financially. But then it's like this कि वो दिमाग ठिकाने आ जाता है ना. It's like this. Then you realize that then again I started working, and then I, with my salary, I repaid all the debts and everything. And slowly like this, I was able to maintain or learn to have this balance, that what is the difference between underconfident and overconfident person. It's very important to manage and maintain that balance. It's not like this that you are the MD of the organization, so you will not listen to anyone. No, it's not like this. The way Kamalika was saying that even senior leaders, they have to listen. But I learned it through my experience. There was,
Right.
I didn't get it just like that.
So talking of wrong decisions, so can you, I mean, you already mentioned the wrong decisions or failures, mistakes that you have made. So how these mistakes and failures shaped you into who you are today, and what these mistakes taught you?
These mistakes, the way I said that my biggest learning is that there has to be a balance between underconfident and overconfident. So if you are taking someone's advice or you are consulting someone, it doesn't mean that you don't know the thing. That is okay. So at one point in time, it was not okay for me. So these mistakes taught me that it is absolutely fine to take advice, to discuss the things, and it's absolutely fine to say that I don't know, I failed. There is no problem in saying this. And those incidents, they have made me so strong person that today, whatever problem I face, I don't take it as a problem. I compare my current challenges with my past challenges and then say, Preeti, is this the real challenge what you have already faced? Right? Because a financial challenge or other kind of challenges are very big challenges as compared to the challenges what we face at office. So those kind of incidents have taught me how to handle my challenges, and I think they have made me a real mature person. I've learned.
Yeah, I would. Sorry, go ahead, Preeti, finish.
Go ahead, Monica.
And I was going to say I couldn't agree more, because I think Bablu, the way I would put it is that if you are not failing enough, it means you're not trying enough, right? It means you're in this super safe zone where nothing unexpected can actually happen to you, right? And I think that doesn't make you grow as an individual, right? And I was it's so inspirational to hear Preeti's stories also, because I think it's you're really going down these paths, and whatever you encounter, like failure or success, you grow as an individual, right? But failure is most important because failure is the best teacher, right? And I think as you grow older, you realize that the failure itself, like success, it's temporary, right? Today, you may feel like a failure, it's going to go, something else will come tomorrow, and a new situation and a new new challenge will present itself, right? But after every failure, it's not the failure that defines you, but your reaction to it that defines you, right? Are you able to learn? Are you able to pick up the pieces, pick yourself up from the ground, dust off yourself, and say, okay, I'm going to give it another try, but this time I'm going to try it differently, right? And to me, I think that's the biggest thing, that the failure and the ability to learn from it, and also to display the grit and resilience to say, I'm not going to let this particular situation define me. I'm going to go on regardless, right? And I think that's really, to me, in fact, some of the lessons that I teach my kids also, I think are the most important lessons that any person can learn.
So, Kamalika, any particular failure that you learned from?
Yeah, this is what I was going to ask.
Too many to count. Too many to count. So I think we all encounter failure, right? I mean, I was telling you all about the incident, when my daughter and I was away from home, and that sometimes makes you feel that you're not doing the right things in life. There have been instances when you're in in a professional setting, right? You've done things, let's say a meeting that hasn't gone well, and you feel like, oh my God, why did I do that, right? In some cases, you might find yourself in the wrong job, right? And that has happened to me also in my career. Like you think that you're going for this fantastic opportunity, and then you've gone for it, only to realize that you've probably ended up somewhere that you weren't thinking of, right? And I think all of those things have happened to me. And I think the most important thing to remember is that failure is not permanent. There's a way to come back from it, right? At times, we say things, right? And we say, oh, I wish I hadn't said that, right? Or you make an outspoken comment, right? And then you say, I wish I could take that back, right? And happens very often in business situations, because at the end of the day, any workplace is a collection of individuals, right? You work with people, you obviously you get along, with some of them you don't get along, and sometimes there can be differences of opinion, right? But I think at every point of time, what I've discovered is that you take a step back, you acknowledge if you've done something wrong, or if you did something that led down a path or an argument that you didn't take the right position. It's always possible to go and apologize and say, hey, I said something I shouldn't have, and recalibrate yourself and say, let's go forward from this. And I found that people always appreciate that, and people always appreciate your honesty in saying, guess what, I messed up, right? I made a mistake, right? And I'm acknowledging that, and I'm obviously asking for your forgiveness, and let's go forward as friends. And I think as human beings, that approach is something that's always appreciated, and people always respond positively to it. So yes, plenty of incidents. I can assure you.
I have an interesting question from the audience. So what advice would you have for the women who are inhabited with the fear of judgment and fear of failures? Kamalika and Preeti, one by one.
Fear of judgment. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good
and
one.
fear of
Yes,
failures.
Preeti, why don't you go ahead?
So my suggestion would be fear of failure, fear of judgment. It's what we think. So this I said before as well, that no one else is judging you. You are thinking that someone else is judging you. The fear is within you. No one can make you do the things if you don't want to do. No one can hurt you if you don't want to get hurt. No one can take advantage of you if you will not let them. The only thing is that you have to change your own perception about yourself. That is what is my message.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have found myself in so many situations, let's say, when you want to speak up, but you're afraid of being judged, right? Or I have said something, and then I've like, oh my God, what will they think of me, right? Or done something, right? And and I always think of this, that, it will be something, that incident that happens at work, and I will keep on obsessing about it, thinking, in the night I sit and think, oh, why did I do this? I should have said this, and I should have said that. Maybe that person thinks that, I am so and so, right? It's all a dialogue in your own head, right? And take some time to realize this. It's actually something that's going on in your own head. Believe me, most people spend most of their time thinking about themselves, right? They don't have that much of time to think of you, or, and they probably think about their significant, people in their lives, but they really don't have that much of mind space to spend on you as a person, right? So they spend very little time, and I think that's true of us as individuals as well.
I think Kamalika's connection.
I would say don't give importance.
That we really don't spend that much of time thinking about other people, right? So every time that we're thinking that so and so thinking this of me, yeah. So getting out of your own head and getting, out from behind your own fear is very, very important. Getting out of your own way is one of the key ingredients of success. Yeah, not letting yourself defeat you.
So I have a supplementary question, to this fear, there's another fear is the fear of public speaking, and when I say public speaking, it need not be that you have to speak in front of hundreds of people, but something like, especially when you're looking at a leadership role, speaking in front of the board, speaking in front of the CEO, presenting to the board members, to the top management. So, from your own experiences, when you had to face, let's say, present for the first time, did you make any mistakes, or what was the situation like?
Yeah, so I had this really incident that I still remember when I was a rookie consultant, right? And and we had this very important presentation to make, and I had obviously worked on the presentation and made it, and then my boss, the partner, he said, okay, go ahead, you should be the one delivering it. And on the day of the presentation, we suddenly realized that the audience in the room was very, very senior, right? Much more senior than we thought. The owner of the company himself, came into the presentation. And I was like, I can't do this, right? Because I wasn't prepared for this. And, maybe this is something that, that my partner should deliver, right? And I still remember to this day, he took me aside and he said that, no, you're the one who's done the work. You're the one who knows this material in detail. You are the one who should deliver this, right? And just believe in yourself and just speak from the heart, right? So I think at those crucial moments of when you're in these kind of situations, people who stand behind you and say you've got this, I think it's very, very valuable, and I still remember it to this day. It's not that public speaking, I think everybody is nervous of it in the beginning. One does see people grow into effortless speakers. It takes time, it takes preparation. The only thing that I would say is that look for opportunities to speak, because if you don't speak often enough, you won't get that DNA and that that habit, muscle memory you can call it, of speaking. So look for opportunities to speak, look for opportunities to engage, and try not to script it too much, because if you script it right down to every single word and comma, you're never going to get there, right? So let it come from inside, let it come in a conversational style if that's what you're comfortable with, but keep putting yourself out there. Do not let that fear ruin your engagement and your pleasure of addressing an audience and sharing your thoughts.
I totally agree with Kamalika. I think that's a very important point, that do not lose any opportunity. Even if you are afraid, it's okay to be afraid. You don't have to be brave all the time. Even if you will fail, it's okay to fail. And another important thing, even if someone else is telling you that you did great, it's very important to do self-assessment. Are you happy with yourself? If someone is telling you you did bad, you think about it. Did I do bad? Or there is something else? If someone is telling you that you have done a good job, you ask yourself, are you happy with yourself? The biggest competition you have is with you. If you will compete with yourself, I think no one can beat you. So just keep evaluating the things, that how did I do? Okay, what are the improvement areas? How I have to improve? Do not neglect anything. Keep on looking for the areas where you have to improve, what better you could have done, how next time you do differently. A very simple thing, whenever I go for a walk or anything, if I have important meetings, I do the mock trial with myself. That gives you a lot of confidence. Because whatever use case is going to come, whatever questions are going to come, if you can predict them, you are much more prepared. In initial stages, over a period of time, anything you can handle. If you are master of your field, anything you can handle. But I think for beginners, this is how you have to begin, and everyone begin like this. Don't be afraid. And don't give the chance to others to judge yourself, ladies. No one has the right to judge you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I have a, a little different question. So what are some of the lesser known facts about you? I would like to ask first Kamalika and then Preeti.
Oh
Lesser
gosh.
known facts.
Lesser known facts about me. I used to head a rock band in college. This was when I was actually in business school. So of course it was the college rock band. But I think so we had a band in that was for like Western songs, and there was one for Hindi songs, and I used to run that. So that was great. It was good fun.
That's
Okay,
amazing.
great.
We really
Amazing.
hope that you can reassemble a rock band,
Yeah, I've been trying to do that for a time, but just hasn't worked
Surely
out.
should.
And what about you, Preeti?
People think I'm a very tough person, but if someone will see this, I'm a very emotional person, and no one believes that I'm a very, very emotional person. I cry a lot. I never cry in public, but at nights I cry a lot, and this is how I manage myself. And this is, I think, till now it was the one of the most hidden fact about me, which I never wanted to discuss.
You think that in order to be taken seriously, actually try to portray this being the tough act, being very tough and strict. I mean, I'm
Yes,
just.
and this is what I've learned over a period of time, and this is how I've made myself. In my early stages, as I was telling you, where I've faced these kind of challenges, sexual harassment, bias, and all those things. So, uh, in case any incident happens with you, people start judging you, and you also get into the trouble. You also start blaming you. Why I spoke to that person like this, why I did like this. So over a period of time, I've realized that it is very good to look very tough, so that no one can dare to even talk to you. They have to think at least 10 times before talking to you, Lucy.
Oh my goodness.
Do you think that's true, Kamalika? Have you put on a tough persona to be taken across very seriously? Is it?
No, I don't think so. At least, but I think, in every situation, you have to judge as a woman, because somewhere I think, a woman does get scrutinized a lot more in terms of how she or she behaves, right? So walking that line, that fine line, because neither do you want to come across as someone who's, very aggressive, because it's very easy again, for a woman to be labeled as aggressive. Oh, she's very aggressive. One hears that, or one used to hear that very, earlier. And neither do you want to come across as, oh, she's very emotional, and therefore she's not, whatever, not strong enough or resilient enough, right? So I think, these are some of the unique challenges that come from being a woman in the workplace. You have to walk that fine line, right? And I think, in a sense, it's also a leader's journey, in a sense, because I think for any leadership journey, it's also important to be empathetic, so that you don't lose the soft side of your personality, but at the same time to be confident of, the outcomes that you're delivering, and things like that. So I think that's why I think that, a woman, women do make great leaders, is because they bring these qualities together, right? Being firm. Think about, at home, like when you're firm with my teenagers, I have to be firm all the time, right? If I wasn't, they would walk all over me, right? So you have to be firm, right? But you also have to be empathetic, right? And I think that approach, that works best,
Right.
whether at home or at work.
So I have a subsequent question.
We have crossed six. So, Bablu, yeah, sorry.
Oh yeah, it's already 6 o'clock. I didn't
But
realize it.
I think we didn't realize. I think we just.
Yeah, it was.
I think we can just go on and on. But I think we thank you so much, Preeti and Kamalika, for your time. I think as a wrap-up question, I would like to ask both of you. We have this saying that behind every successful man is a woman. What is behind your success?
I would say my husband. Without him, I would not have done what I have done. And I would say that he has done much more sacrifices as compared to me to see me here.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, I would agree with Preeti actually, 100%. As somebody said, choosing having a good marriage is the best career decision that you can make.
That's a good one.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, and I really hope that this we soon move to the new phrase that behind every successful woman there is a man. So we need to have a balance of both the worlds.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you so much, both of you. I think it was a very candid discussion, and thanks for sharing your experiences so candidly with us. I hope we didn't get into any controversy today, but it was good to hear your real feelings, your real opinion on matters. So great, Babu. I'll hand it over.
Yeah, I mean, it was it was so interesting, and I mean, we all didn't realize it. It's so already 6 o'clock. I mean, we have crossed
So
the
I
time,
actually, yeah, I hate, I
and I hate to go really.
I didn't want to stop Bablu and end it, but I hated to end it, but I think we'll have to because it's time. So thank you once again, and thank you everyone who has joined us. So please drop in your feedback if you have any, and do let us know what more topics you would like us to discuss in our upcoming sessions. Thank you, and have a great
Thank you so much,
bye.
Malika and Preeti.
Thank you, Shilpa and Bablu. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.